Hello, everyone. My name is Trumps LP, and thank you for joining us on this weird Sunday edition of the Moisky Live Political Recap. Joining me, as always, is the lovely and moist Omegon. Say hello, Omegon.
Hello, Omegon. I should offer the apology. It's entirely my fault. I was covering all week overtime and burnt out, so I thought, leave it to Sunday. I'll be nice and refreshed, and I feel a bit better, so that's good. How's things going with Traps?
Um, I'm still rocking that overtime.
Yeah, I guess I can't really complain about overtime for 10 days when you've been doing it for
Yeah, but
because
I understood when you said like, oh, I've been dealing with overtime, so I didn't get the chance to do X, Y, and Z. I'm like, you know what? I understand.
at least you can empathise. It's why I didn't get. Okay, so for those who remember last week, I had said I was going to do a video for him. Haven't done it yet. I'll do it tomorrow morning now after I've done my videos, and I'll then just send it over. I kind of got put in a bit of an odd spot, but yeah, things have been interesting. So where would you like to start?
Well, actually, now that I think about it, you want to talk about the whole China thing right now?
Yeah, what is going on with China?
Okay, so first and foremost, the Free Hong Kong movement has been going on for quite some time.
The
Um,
Blizzard stuff is just amazing.
yeah, well, that's kind of why I suddenly, got interested in the moment. Like I saw it happening. I was like, wow, it's interesting that these guys over in China are waving the Union Jack and the American flag. And I'm like, that's pretty unique. And look at us, we're waving Soviet flags. Weird. Um, but it wasn't until recently that it really gained a lot of traction because a lot of at least American and actually some European companies have recently been in the news for bending the knee to communist China. Um, the most recent, besides Blizzard, have been the NBA.
And what
But
have
others include, um, I believe, Mercedes, Audi, American Airlines, British Airlines, Canadian Airlines, Malaysian Airlines. And a lot of the airlines were complained because they uh, mentioned Taiwan and Hong Kong as separate places from China.
Oh god, the UK government refuses to acknowledge Taiwan as separate because of that agreement. And I kind of I feel bad for them in that respect because we have recognised Taiwan before, and we did
Mm-hmm.
through through sports. So there and because people don't maybe no one will know who this is. I think his name was Watana. He was a snooker player, but they recognised him by nationality as Taiwanese. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
Taiwan is a separate nation. It doesn't recognise China at all, and China are trying to impose its will and have failed miserably for decades. So why do I don't understand why they keep trying? It's like Tibet. Like, what on earth are you doing, China?
Well, you know what's really weird is that it just suddenly started becoming an issue. Like, remember, 10 years ago they were still acknowledging this,
Mm-hmm.
like Tibet as a different place,
Yep.
Taiwan as a different place, and the Chinese government didn't crack down as hard. But because China is currently being threatened by quote unquote their own people, um,
Yeah.
um, at least those who they claim to be their people, then yeah, now we have news about this whole thing. But what I found remarkably odd was that so many people are complaining in favor of China. Like I have actually seen people supporting the Chinese government over the rioters,
Yeah. I don't
and
understand
mostly
that.
they're left leaning.
I Our government supports China as well, and yet they rarely ever condemn China for being one of the biggest polluters on the planet. They don't condemn them for what has been known to be quite frankly, atrocious human rights violations. Um, I don't.
Well,
I don't.
I mean, they're just as bad as North Korea, arguably. They just pay more.
Yes, I think. Okay, so I would say that obviously I can't. I cannot comment on something as speculation. But the hypothetical that they're taking organs from prisoners, oh my god, that. The fact that's even out there is dangerous. I don't know how. I don't know how people can keep.
I didn't even know that was a thing.
That was reported a couple of days ago by a number of sources in the United Kingdom, and the thumbnail for it was a Chinese doctor operating on someone in the middle of a high street. That's quite the thumbnail. And so I don't get copyrighted, I'm not going to show it. I don't want another
Yeah.
lawsuit.
Yeah, you just want to throw another one in there since you did so well in the first.
Yeah, that'd be amazing, right?
But
I Okay, so China are getting a fairly bad rap right now because of the Hong Kong stuff. Hong Kong have now utterly shelved the what's it called? It's a bill for moving someone from one country to another. What's that called?
Extradition?
No, a criminal extradition.
Oh, extradition, yeah.
Right, the extradition bill. That's what it was, and the premise was that somebody who was a criminal in China, but lived in Hong Kong could be extradited from Hong Kong to China. Thank you, everyone in the chat, for extradition. I appreciate that. And the now what's it called? She's got a stupid. The leader of Hong Kong doesn't have like a politician title. They've got a business title, like chief executive or something. And they have now outright said the bill is now dead. It's over. Press X to doubt. I'm sure in a few years' time it'll come up again. Many people are crying, saying Hong Kong needs to go back to the United Kingdom. I agree. At this point, come back. You're welcome within our arms. You do well anyway, and honestly, we could do with your economy right now. I think the only reason we haven't, by the way, is because China's a big dollar thing. And China, the one nation, two systems principle is dangerous because China are going to start flexing over Hong Kong, and they have already proven themselves to be doing that, which rightly scares the Hong Kong people. And yeah, millions have been protesting. This is dangerous. And have you seen some of the brutal police attacks on people not even involved? People just standing around doing nothing.
Yes, I have.
I saw those videos and I was like, wow. If you were like my height, that would look even worse. Absolutely.
No, I don't know what it is, but it doesn't surprise me at all. Sorry.
No,
When I
carry on.
see all these, especially in a communist China, it does not surprise me to see a police force exacting punitive judgment, is the way I'm going to phrase it, on people they claim to be citizens.
Yeah.
You're going to exact unwarranted force on people who aren't even breaking the law. You're basically just strong-arming everyone who's watching.
Yes.
It's kind of like a mob tactic.
I agree. And sorry, no apology for being late. I will say hello to everyone in a moment, I promise. Okay, so with this all in mind, I assume you are fully well versed in the Blizzard incident.
Oh, I am, and I'm very excited to watch it go down.
Okay, so do you want to give everyone a retelling of what has taken place?
So there was a competition for Blizzard's Hearthstone, which is their spin-off of Magic the Gathering.
Mm-hmm. It's better than
and
that, to be fair.
a competitor who had recently won a tournament but was not yet issued his prize money. He is known on BattleNet as Blitzchung. Put on a gas.
$10,000 prize, by the way.
I thought it was 3,000.
I think it was 10 because.
Oh yeah, it is 10.
Yeah, carry on.
But he put on a gas mask and put on ski goggles, and during a live broadcast said, "Free Hong Kong." Um, the two casters who were also interviewing him at the time, at this point, ducked underneath their desk.
Yeah.
Um, and consequently, afterwards, Blitzchung was basically barred from competitive competition for a year.
Yep.
His prize money that he had not yet received was rescinded,
Yep.
and the two casters were fired.
Yep.
At which point, the entire internet freaked out.
I understand that. I should say, to make a political statement at such an event, not the wisest move, but in the circumstance of what he is talking about, I totally agree with it.
No. I don't agree that at a, let's call it a sporting event, that you cannot make
Oh, no, no.
a political statement.
Okay, I should have said that a bit better. I agree with that. I think, in the context of what he was doing, it's hilarious, and he was right. But at the same time, he was right to say it because of the particular. Okay, no, because see, I'm trying to make a thought here that it shouldn't be acceptable, but then say it is. No, ignore everything I've just said. Just listen to Traps. He knows what he's talking about.
Well, the reason I bring it up, and I phrase it that way, and I'm taking the firm stance that somebody could and should make a political statement at a international event,
Mm-hmm.
is I look at the Lithuanian basketball team
And what do they do?
during the Olympics when Lithuania was trying to basically keep away from the Soviet Union, and they were encroaching on their space. It was only when the basketball team had actually brought that country to the limelight that people actually take notice on an international level that they were being oppressed.
Yeah.
So I think this is actually good in the grand scheme of things, and in hindsight, we may look back and say this was good. But at the moment, Blizzard decided to basically, I believe the wording they used was defend the dignity of the country.
See, they could have said something simpler, which would have perhaps been a little less dickish, and said, "We are apolitical and do not encourage this kind of behaviour." But they went down that route.
I mean, that's fine.
Yeah, if they'd said
but
that,
it's also not your politics.
agreed. I think if they'd said that though, they would have gotten a far less damning response.
Well, unfortunately, they're still getting a bad response because
I love it.
The community around Blizzard took to making Mei from Overwatch, a Chinese character,
Yeah.
a symbol for the resist Hong Kong, resist China, free Hong Kong movement.
Oh, amazing.
And damn, dude, that took off really fast.
The boycott Blizzard hashtag, I did follow that for a bit. That was one of those things when during the overtime, that was the thing I watched just because of how funny it got. And people obviously, much like the Kaepernick ad with the Nike, although not the same fallout, but the people that boycotted Nike, their tweets were hilarious. And it's the same with Blizzard, because many of and it's the some with the more sensible thing of you took a stance and it's clearly money motivated. Others saying I'm unsubscribing and then saying you don't get my money and blah blah blah, which I think, wait, Blizzard still makes money off their shit? I mean,
they do, and you know what the saddest? Well, they just released WoW Classic again.
I know.
And the saddest thing was Mark Kern, a developer on WoW Classic, unsubscribed.
That's unfortunate.
And he even went on the Quarterings channel to talk about it.
Hang on a sec. Someone in the chat says a high-pitched beat. That's my 3D printer. If it is bothering people, do press 1 in the chat and I will turn the printer off. If it's just 1, I do apologise, but no. It's halfway through a project. I'm sorry.
Populism.
Yes.
But yeah, so that was the whole thing.
I do wonder if there is going to be a significant amount of unsubscriptions, because they surely they make a lot of money off that. But I can't imagine. I mean, I'm sure they lost loads of subscribers, but how many would be a lot to them? And also, there were people indicating to me that there was virtually no way they could then delete their account.
Yeah, they started blocking like people from unsubscribing
The
or canceling their accounts.
I like the DM on Twitter that was all over Google of someone saying, "If you don't, I'm going to go onto every server and start shouting a particular word until you perma ban me." Have you seen that?
Oh,
I'll go and get it. Hang on. Uh, Carry on.
yeah. But the individuals who ended up basically talking about it on the Blizzard forums, well, apparently Blizzard may have underhandedly added on some terms and conditions for their forums, because people who were talking about it got 1,000-year bans. Which, by the way, out of all the things all the numbers to do, why on earth would you use 1,000 years?
Hmm.
Because, history check for everybody. How long was the Third Reich supposed to last?
Yeah, that's not great.
Yeah, they do that a lot. This whole like 1,000 years, it's not. Don't use that number. A lot of communist parties have used that, and socialist parties have used that. Not the best plan, I would say.
It's not.
Um,
It's not ideal.
the optics are even worse because then it's like, okay, Blizzard, you chose to do this. Um, because I guarantee you there's no like automated filter for banning. Like if you like cursed like 4 times in a single post, I could see where there would be an automated function that would ban you for a day or so.
Yeah.
I don't think that anybody ever coded in 1,000-year ban uh unintentionally.
Ah, right. I have the image, but I'm going to have to crop it out of V. Monroe's video. Just give me a moment. I'll have it on the screen in a moment. Once I've cropped it, because they're not.
Jeff Jones said maybe 1,000 years was specified by China. I would actually believe that.
That wouldn't surprise me. Do you think that Blizzard will take enough of a hit that they'll actually? I mean, okay. Actually, no. There has been actually, no. I do realize. Remember, there has actually been a semi-conclusion to the story of the gamer in question.
Yes, he was taken away from the 1-year ban, became
Yep.
a 6-month ban,
Also,
and
his
he
money.
was given.
Yeah, his money reset. But also, there was a company, another game company, that had offered to give him the money and an endorsement and stuff, didn't they? Right.
Yeah, I believe it was Gods Unleashed or something like that. It was a Bitcoin like game essentially. Is a game that basically ran on
Right.
that kind of thing.
I'm gonna DM
Oh
you the
dear.
image. Yeah, you see the image?
Yeah, I see it. I got
Yeah.
it.
All right, I was gonna DM it to you, so you had it. That was the DM that everyone saw, and it was, I love that. That is so. That is quite funny. I have to admit, I lolled pretty hard at that one. I'm gonna remove.
That's a damn good fucking response. Save some boasting time and push the fucking button.
Yeah, I'm going to leave it on the screen. The stream was already demonetized the moment I put the picture up. There's no point taking it down anymore.
Oh, as soon as we mentioned China, we got demonetized because the Google
Yeah.
machine has already kowtowed to China once.
It has. That's unfortunate. Check Discord when you got a chance. Some BlizzCon previews. Oh, Socky.
Yeah, you're not allowed to cosplay Winnie the Pooh at BlizzCon this year.
Give me a second then. I'm just gonna... just... I'll have these on screen in a moment. Thank you, Saki, for these images. I will first of all hide that and properties this. and put that on the screen. Oh, that's a bit small. There we go. Winnie the Pooh. I saw
Yes,
a bunch of memes of
yeah, it's
uh
because
what's his name? My Ping? Is that his name?
yeah,
Um
um,
him like looking like Winnie the Pooh, which was
he looks slightly like Winnie the Pooh, and so that has been an ongoing meme.
hey, he brought it on himself,
Um,
man. He brought it on himself.
yeah, well, then they actually canceled a whole bunch of images of Winnie the Pooh in China because of it. Which, honestly, why Pooh? Because that's what he looks like.
Hang on, let me just put this one on the screen instead, 'cause this is good. Do you not have any social credit? Okay, yeah, because China has a social credit system, doesn't it?
It does.
I don't understand the need for social credit. It actually is a bit embarrassing.
There's a picture for you.
Oh, okay. Let me go get it. I will have this on the screen moment.
Yeah, if you haven't been demonetized yet, put that one up. You'll be
that's the that's
demonetized. Art.
that's the one I remember seeing as well. Where's the that's the image. Property. I'll remove the profane one and replace it with this one. Let's do
You know what's
that.
really sad? China, throughout all of history, has been such a powerful, powerful nation. Then they come out and do like really, frankly, cowardly things.
Well, it's not surprising, because the guy isn't Mai Ping now just like this perpetual president or something now?
Yes,
I'm sorry, but they're not a democracy.
correct.
It's as bad as Erdogan trying to fob himself off as democratic. The guy lives in a fucking a palace he had built that cost over $500 million.
I'm sorry. Say Durgan.
Erdogan, the Turkish guy.
What? Okay.
Not democratic. He has elections. Not democratic in the slightest.
Oh, okay. When you said Durgan, for some reason
Oh
I
right.
couldn't help but think of like a meme way of saying dragon.
I should have been a
The
bit.
Durgan.
I should have been a bit.
Sorry.
No. It's quite all right. And yes, South Park. They mocked
Yep, South
China.
Park too.
Oh my god, South Park. That was so funny. Putting Randy in a Chinese factory. That was. To be fair, that's his fault.
And the best one, by the way, is that there are Blizzard employees who staged a walkout the day after this shit happened.
And why did they say?
And they wore ski masks and gas masks and put on and carried umbrellas. And they even taped over the "Every Voice Matters" that's in front of the California base for Blizzard.
Well,
They just taped
yeah,
over a piece of white paper.
they're right to do that because
It's actually a very good way to protest.
not just that, but you cannot market yourself as one thing, but be in a alliance with Pooh Bear, who is the absolute antithesis. Although
So.
I would say the only voices that matter really are are those that agree with them and have a good enough social credit score.
You think he has the best?
I think he cured cancer and won all football, so no one needs to play football. Go back to work.
It's kind of funny. We talk about, we make all the jokes about North Korea, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because we don't actually find them a threat.
Mm-hmm.
If you ever find out who's actually the one you're scared of, find out the one you can't criticize.
Very true.
So
It's sad.
yeah, well, apparently, oh god, what was it? It wasn't Red Dawn. It was a remake of a movie about the Wolverines that were fighting against the Russians. It came out in like the 80s or whatever, the 70s. They
Right.
made a remake of it. Oh fuck me, I can't remember the name of this movie. But originally it was supposed to be Chinese, but they changed it afterwards to show North Koreans instead.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Oh, that's
so
brilliant.
that's another one
That's
that
brilliant.
America has kowtowed.
I love that already. That's fantastic.
But yeah, so in case Red Dawn, yeah, Red
Uh,
Dawn, I was right.
So, do you play much WoW or anything like that?
I play Overwatch.
Okay. I assume you're not going to stop though.
I haven't played it in a while. I haven't had the desire to log back in since I found out all this. I've paid for the game already, so I own it. It's not like I have a subscription.
Oh, apparently, Saki linked me a source that Blizzard President's apology was written by a Chinese person, which comes from a bilingual Chinese-English speaker. Who I assume the reason how you know this is because it's done via a translation, and if it's written by someone who's Chinese, the translation would sound a bit more fluid, as opposed to someone in British, where it would just when they translate it, it would sound it wouldn't translate very well.
Yes, correct.
Yeah.
If you
Imagine.
use Google Translate, then yeah, it's gonna be obvious.
Yeah. I do want to put that picture on the screen though, the one you've just DM'd me, because that's just, oh, that's funny. The Pooh. Oh, I feel my sister loves Winnie the Pooh, and so this stuff, she doesn't really understand it, but it's very it feels like a defilement, but at the same time, it's very funny. And yeah, the syntax tells you. Yeah, I'm very happy with how this has happened. So Blizzard obviously apologized to
Kinda.
to China, yeah,
Yeah.
right, and obviously they've backtracked on the person in question, ish. Yeah. Do you think that this will continue to harm Blizzard?
Yes. Until because the internet does not forget these things. Now, the internet never probably cared about American Airlines or British Airways or Malaysia Airlines. Like we probably didn't notice nor care. But because the internet lives this way and gaming is such a multifaceted, multi-diverse, gender inclusive, all this thing, everyone's watching gaming news, whether you're a gamer or not.
Right.
So this brings massive attention. Um, I don't think that the internet is going to let them forget.
Why would they?
Right. So I don't think they're going to get away too much
Right.
without, things like going downhill real fast. Like I expect at BlizzCon, some asshole is going to stand up during a Q&A and ask them, how does Blizzard feel about the Hong Kong movement? Like, it's going to be live streamed.
Yeah,
And, yep, that's going to happen.
it is. Oh, by the way, Teddy, no, we're not showing an episode of South Park here. Oh dear, this stream would disappear so fast, and I'd end up with a strike. That would not be good. But I do
All right.
remember the episode. It was very funny.
Would you like to move on?
Sure. Before we do, Saki also mentioned you play as May. Who do you play as an Overwatch?
No. I play as Reinhardt. I play as glorious German man. Very blonde, blue-eyed, Aryan, very pure.
1,000 years, huh? Okay.
Yep.
Okay. I want to talk about, well, since it's in the title, 18 days till Brexit. On this channel, I have for the last week done it by day, counting from 24 down to where we are now. And we're on day, 18 now. And things, shield is failing. Things have gotten quite interesting. So a lot of things have been happening. I should probably get rid of these images first. And Rule Britannia needs to be changed back to actually Rule Britannia. And it's so damn small. Okay, let's move you here. There we go. So yes, Rule Britannia. By the way, the reason I'm using this image is because of a tweet I saw that said, "Disgusted. Outside the Houses of Common, a brand new set of flagpoles with Union Jacks only to reinforce the the xenophobia." Yeah, that's what it says. Xenophia. The government is pushing. Every other EU city has their national flag, usually their regional city one, and the EU flag. Truly Little Britain. Hashtag revoke Article 50. Hashtag stop the coup. Okay. So I take no issue with this image. I assume you don't really give a shit either. though.
No, it's your country.
Yeah, exactly. This coming from, I believe. Hang on, let me just check. Oh no, they're a proud European. Proud European. Okay, so many people saying this is not their national flag, indicating that the EU flag is their national flag, forgetting that the EU is not a country, it is a political and economic alliance of 28 countries, with there being 50 countries in Europe in any case. 28 of them, soon to be 27, are represented on a flag as a unity, not as a country. It's a trade federation, I know. Anyway, I just wanted to point that out. Interesting image. There's many other things happening. We could start with the recent happening on Andrew Marr. For this, I'm going to need to put a tweet up with a video. Where is it? Priti Patel video. There you are. Here it is. This is a video from the Andrew Marr show. He accuses her of laughing when he says something. Priti Patel is the current home, I think she's the Home Secretary. And Priti Patel is a ardent Brexiteer. She wants to leave. Now, she's a dick. There's no denying it, okay? You don't arrange 12 clandestine meetings with Israel without anyone else's approval or knowledge to get yeeted out of the current then government of Theresa May's to then get a new job in Boris Johnson's because she supported him. And obviously he rewards those that helped him. That's understandable. On the Andrew Marr show, they were talking about what could happen in the event of no deal. She's the British Tulsi Gabbard. If she was intelligent, I'd agree with you. Anyway, I'll press play on this little clip. This is really petty.
The government's own modelling suggests that this FTA would result in a lower growth of 6.7%. Is that something that you're prepared to accept as a price worth paying?
Well, I don't accept that, and I don't know which data you're quoting.
It's your own
and there's
government's
been a range.
figures.
Well, Andrew,
Right. Firstly, the data he was quoting was not the government's data; it came from a think tank. Yeah, I paid attention to that. There was a second video, and for some stupid reason, I haven't actually pulled it up, so I'm going to quickly go and get it. Shouldn't take a second. It's really pathetic because Marr, he's not looking at her, and he accuses her of laughing, which makes no sense because she's not laughing in the slightest. Crumbs, I haven't actually got it on here, have I? Right, there. Cool. Let's pull that there then. Oh, let's bring it. Well, that's useless. Video's not even big enough. That's fine. I'll make it bigger. And bigger. Right. I'll press play on
This is directed then because a whole bunch of them, and I'll read them out. The Society of...
First of all, in that picture, you can see she is not smiling the slightest. To me, she looks like she's biting her tongue. Like, he's an ardent Remainer, and she knows what he's going to say, but instead of rolling her eyes, she's biting her tongue.
For motor manufacturers and traders, the people that make and sell cars, the Chemical Industries Association, the Food and Drink Federation, the Association of the British Pharmaceutical Industry, and the Aerospace Trade Industry Body. A lot of people who are actually at the forefront of trying to make this country earn its place in the world sent a letter to the government, which I will now read out.
Before he does and says something stupid, I should point out all businesses in the United Kingdom don't want to leave the EU. However, it is not their voices that mattered, it is the voices of everyone else that outnumbered them. People seem to forget this, so I'm just going to let him have his little moment.
Part of to you.
Bear in mind here, she has still not smiled.
And they said that this proposal is a serious risk to manufacturing competitiveness and will result in huge new costs and disruption to UK firms. I can't see why you're laughing.
She didn't laugh in the slightest. There was not a shred of laughter in anything that she did then. I would point out, all big businesses, all businesses in the UK, they are afraid because they're not optimistic. They want to be comfortable and in their own mind safe. They don't want to try, they don't want to have a go, they don't want to actually excel, which is what would happen when we leave. if given the chance, they instead want to stay in something that's rotting from the bottom. This is blown up, by the way, to become a huge deal. People then just going off on one attacking Priti Patel. And then I went to her Twitter and had a look and realised she actually said some really nice things, and the first thing everyone did was just attack her anyway, which is exactly what you expect from low IQ functioning idiots. Because they're not interested in seeing the positive or attempting anything positive, much like the businesses that are complaining that they're not, we're going to leave, or no deal is going to be absolutely horrendous, forgetting here that no deal hurts everyone and nobody wants no deal. You're just saying that the Tories want no deal because which is a kind of pathetic thing to do, to be fair. And let's just add to all the... Oh, that was loud and I don't see it. I don't know what that was. Okay. Can't help you there, I'm afraid.
Oh well.
Yeah, I heard a sort of ding. It might have been a follower on Twitch. I do apologise. Continuing with that. There is talk that a snap election could happen, and that Boris Johnson would win a majority as large as twice of what Jeremy Corbyn could get. Let's add to that even further. Jeremy Corbyn has refused to answer the question. And I watched the statement he gave. He answered some questions. One of the questions was, if he lost the next general election, would he stand down? He wouldn't answer it, with his own Shadow Chancellor, John McDonnell, saying he would have to step aside, Corbyn would have to step down if he lost, which he would. That'd be that would be 2 elections he's lost, although claiming at the same time to be, doing well. Also, many others are claiming that Corbyn is busy trying to appease everyone, which is fine. You can appease everyone if you want. But to appease everyone, he's also not really in charge of his party. He's just the face of it, with McDonnell actually running the party. The freaking Marxist communist. Corbyn going so far as to bend over for so many other people. He has said that he would back a fresh Scottish independence referendum, which is the only way Sturgeon will give him a way to prop up the power he would need in government. But still, since no one has actually had the balls to call for a vote of no confidence and try and trigger this, with 18 days left, If, by the way, Corbyn is ousted, a regular favourite of the British people, Jessica Phillips, has said she might consider running for party leadership, because that's what we need opposite Boris Johnson. Somebody that Boris can make cry.
Why?
I don't know. They're already planning this. If they want their election, they can have it. I don't care enough. They're going to lose, Labour are. There's no denying it at this point. The EU have now decided to say a couple of things of interest. Firstly, Macron and what's his name? Merkel have. I don't know why she's still in charge. She has literally no power in Germany. She has none. I don't know why they haven't just put a new person in charge of the party yet, because she is absolutely a lame duck. Right? But they're meeting up to discuss the proposals. The proposals essentially mean that the Northern Ireland will stay in the single market, not the customs union. Was it the customs union, not the single market? One of them, not both. And there'll be 2 borders. A border at the edge of Ireland, but it won't be enforced because of the access to the single market. Right? The only border that will be imposed is the one between Northern Ireland and the UK in the Irish Sea, where checks would then take place there instead. I don't generally support that idea. And with 18 days to go, there are many other things that need to be addressed on it. So I'm kind of curious to see how that plans out. But Merkel and Macron are meeting to discuss the deal. Leo, whatever his name is, the Northern Irish, leader of whatever his name is. Leo, let's go with that. Varadkar, something like that. He's actually partially on board with this, but then there are other conflicting sources saying he's dead against it. But if Ireland actually say yes, the EU are going to listen to them. because that's a big bone of contention if the Irish people want it. This is weird. They're actually willing to get on board. But it's not the only problem. There are still problems with current trade anyway. And, of course, the rest of the deal that we all saw Theresa May negotiate, that was abysmal. What else is there? Oh, yeah, so the EU is also set, if it happens, Veruca, yes, call him that. Leo Veruca. EU are considering, because Juncker has talked up the prospect of a Brexit extension, but the EU officials at the same time also downplaying the chances of a breakthrough in time for the Crunch Summit that happens this week. Talks on Johnson's latest proposals are still ongoing, and the EU Commission President, which is Juncker, has obviously said he will back prolongation if it was sought. I like the memes, by the way, that have been coming up of Johnson asking for an extension, including a picture of an extension cable, or, which is I think quite funny, or sending a letter asking for an extension and then sending a second one saying, please ignore the first letter, fuck off. Which I think is a good idea. Earlier today, Prime Minister met with his cabinet about the state of play in the negotiations, with this week being regarded, the week now we are about to start, being regarded as a make or break week, because this is when everything, could fall apart. Let's not forget here. Oh, excuse me. On Saturday the 19th, the Prime Minister, if he doesn't have a deal, has to ask for an extension on the 19th. Which is when they're also having a Super Saturday in Parliament. Wow! Because if he doesn't get a deal, he has to do it, and Parliament will then try and stop him if he doesn't. Which I actually want to see how this happens. Because I think it'd be very funny if he doesn't, and then when they go to do it, to force him to make the letter, or someone in Parliament instead sends the letter, because there's an idea that possibly someone else can actually send a letter, that they'll then call for no confidence and try and get rid of him through that mean, with Dominic Grieve and Philip Hammond being the two little ringleaders of this, the former Chancellor who had some of the worst economic budgets of his time, really, and the former Attorney General Dominic Grieve, who was absolute. Well, actually, you know what? Take his last name, and his career is basically grief. He is just hassle, because he keeps arguing from a position of for the people, but it's absolutely arrogant because he refuses to acknowledge the result.
So, okay, on the off chance, by the way,
Yeah.
that so he is compelled to go and ask for an extension.
Yeah.
I'm looking at Saki's comment as to why I asked that. I'm like, so if he just asks in like a really dick way,
Yep.
can they just say fuck?
Yeah, well, actually, he doesn't have to even say it in a dick way, because there's no guarantee they'll say yes in the first place. Yes, Juncker is blinking here. Oh, wrong time to go on. My apologies. But they're still not compelled to accept it, because even they themselves are preparing for no deal. Michael Gove, the Chancellor Duchy of Lancaster, has been saying that the government is, and the country is, prepared for no deal. I kind of don't believe him because he's a snake. But I don't think they would tank the entire country just for themselves, because that wouldn't benefit them when they're then chased out of the country. I do believe that they are trying to prepare for no deal under the premise that a deal cannot be agreed upon. Consider it a good faith thing. I do think that the current deal being proposed is a compromise. If the EU refuse to accept it, because some are saying, they don't accept it, and some are also saying they do accept it. it is a bit contradictory and it gets very confusing. So I'm not entirely sure what's going on. I noticed that May's... Okay, so we should definitely go back a little. Theresa May's customs plan was rejected as impractical because it was bureaucratic and a betrayal of common sense, quite frankly. But the same people that said it was completely cretinous, impractical, bureaucratic, etc., are now willing to make a compromise. And I think that shows that while people are saying the party, the Conservatives, are now just a right-wing talking piece, a mouthpiece, sorry, for the far right, the fact they're willing to move from those lines of absolute hardline leave shows a level of willingness to work. Thank you, Drunk Shovel. Hello from the States. Hope you're both well. I'm very well, thank you. And you, Trups?
I'm all right.
Thank you for the $2 donation. It's very generous. Right, so I should state, I would actually be okay with no deal at this point. I really would. I really, really would. But if a deal can be agreed upon, fine. But if the deal weakens us on an international level and nationally, no. That's why I don't support Theresa May's deal. I don't know the full details of Boris Johnson's deal because Boris Johnson hasn't put his deal out yet. And Trump's probably is playing Overwatch, so it makes more sense. But to be fair,
Not right now.
yeah, he's very polite. He doesn't interrupt very much. What are your thoughts on all of this, by the way?
Well, I was actually having this discussion with some folks at work regarding the whole, basically the whole BS surrounding, because I don't talk politics at work too often, but in this case, I was bringing up the fact that you're still fighting against a government that refuses to accept the will of the people, and I'll never get over this.
Mm-hmm.
Y'all voted already once. So it doesn't matter if Boris has to go and ask for an extension that will then get debated in Parliament until everyone's blue in the face again, and then have to go and, cut through another 2 months of bullshitting just to say, hey, we need to go back to them and ask again.
Mm-hmm.
Like, at certain points, like, it gets to be too much effort to keep this facade going when it could just end.
Yes.
And the fact that when did you start talking about Brexit? Like 2 years ago?
Oh, it's getting close to that, and possibly longer. I would have to look at the video manager of this channel and then go through that. But I know it's been a long, long time because it was definitely a factor in the very earliest PMQ streams, actually, so that would be when.
Right, that's why I remember it, like you talking about it for so long.
Just over 2 years now.
So it's like, all right, well, when are we doing this? Because y'all are complaining a whole lot, and but when is something going to come to fruition? Because now y'all are complaining about something you don't even know.
See, I guess that's where we differ, because your country is definitely more of a results-driven, come on, we want this, do it now kind of thing. Get it over with. We have people in this country that want to get it over with like that, but then when they're put in a position to do it, they do nothing. I should also point out, and I forgot about this, Parliament was prorogued last week on the 9th. The intention being to prorogue, so basically it was prorogued for a second time, but only 5 days, and that was in preparation of a Queen's speech. Now, politicians, weirdly, weren't so against this one, right? The Queen's speech will be happening tomorrow. I will have a video on this channel at a regular time, but I'll watch the Queen's speech. The intention is that apparently this will outline the government's obvious plans, Brexit being a priority, with the hope that a bill and agreement can be passed through Parliament at a pace. the end plan to end free movement also, and also provide faster access to medicines being unveiled. I do think this will be tricky. I don't know if Boris will be here for this because there's a ceremony for it, because there's still a key summit to attend and obviously negotiations, whether it will be Stephen Barclay or whether Boris will feature in some way. Because the way it works, much like prorogation, Black Rod makes her way, although I would say she does look like a dude, no joke. I know you meant to look all stern and surly, but your predecessor had a smile on his face. Perhaps if you smiled more. The Black Rod will then demand the presence of the MPs. They make their way over there. The Queen will then give the speech, which is something given to her by the government. So it's not something she has input on. It's something she's there to... I don't know why, actually. I assume it's like you're the government's bitch. Here, read that. I know that there's also scrapping other things, rail franchise and independent NHS investigation bodies, which is just more bureaucracy. But Brexit is the most important part, so it'll be quite interesting to see. I want to see if I know the Queen's very good at dead delivering things she doesn't agree with. Deadpan, she can do it. It'd be very interesting to see if she can dead deliver anything referencing Brexit without suddenly just deciding, fuck it, nah, your democracy's over, I'm ruling. That's it. Army, do your job. It's what some people want anyway. Bad idea?
Yeah, I'm not sure about how that's going to go.
I don't think she will actually do it. I was just
military. Well, I was more saying the military getting involved. I don't think that's a smart idea.
I know. I was just joking about. There was one last thing about the Northern Ireland bit, and that was that the DUP, who are propping up the government, although not really anymore, don't agree with the proposals Boris has brought forward, with them saying that Northern Ireland must stay in the UK customs union and not the EU customs union. I tend to agree, but I'm willing to make a concession. I like that Scotland think this is a benefit to Northern Ireland to be treated differently from the UK, forgetting that Northern Ireland doesn't want to be treated differently. They want to be a part of the United Kingdom. So, and there were already people mentioning that that Merkel had said months ago that the only way a deal gets through Parliament is if we give up, or a deal gets through the EU even, is if we give up Northern Ireland, which I think is that's the biggest betrayal, isn't it? Here you go, Northern Ireland, you get to contribute your votes to a democratic process. But now you can go. Bye, have a great time. I think that's a level of cruelty I can't really agree with. Am I the only one that thinks that? Traps?
Hold on, my thing started to freak out.
Oh, okay. That's all good. I'll talk to the chat for a second.
Discord just
I'm going to scroll through the chat and say hello to everyone. Hello, Lord Croco Scroll. Hello, Socky. Hello, Kitro Dayan. Yep. Hello, Pedro Sith. Hello, Lulu Bell. Hello, Norwegian Writer. Hello, Minty. Hello, Take Out Joe. Hello, Patrick. Hello, Karma. Hello, Ventaloo. Hello, Russian Bot. Volsrock. Yorkshire Chick. Jeff. Hello, Jeff. Oh, thank you, Drunk Shovel. Queen Lizzie is in the speaker's chair surrounded by skulls after forcing her way with the army. Jesus. Thank you for the donation. Hello, Keith, Jason, White, Reasoned Vision. I'm going through all of these. Jared, Cyrene, Reese. Keep going. I know there's more. I'm missing someone. Oh, yeah. Orion. Hello. Hello, Viper Sword. Hello, Tiberius, Kirk, TC. I'm just going to keep going. Bill Whitaker, Nevermore. Kofifi. Is that still a joke?
Kofif?
Kofif. Do we have decaf Kofif? Because caffeine sensitive. Teddy, hello Teddy.
I'm not sure if that's still a joke, but I'll take it.
Teddy, just an update to you. The Pussy Melter clone guitar pedal you sent me, I yesterday used, and because someone asked me to make play a riff with it, I decided to play Death to All But Metal, since it is essentially a copy of the Steel Panther one. Hello, Bracken Moore. Hope you're well. Hello, Discanar. Hello, Maggie Rose. Thank you for the keyboard, by the way. That was very generous of you. Hello, Eden. I feel like I've missed some people, and I do apologise. Hello, Russell. Hello, Furry Kitten. Jonas. I think I might... Oh, no, Subpar Genitalia. Haven't seen you in a while. How you doing? White. Yeah, I know. Who doesn't want some Subpar Genitalia? Hello,
Oh, just
Davey.
the way you said that. It's like, I haven't seen you in a while, subpar genitalia.
Yeah.
Do you want to?
used to be my game streams a lot, to be fair. Hello, Astra.
Good.
Hello, I think that's every... Oh, IR. I think I may have gotten everyone. Hello, Victoria. Drunken Shovel, of course. I'm Funky Animal. I'm now just going to skip to the end. I'm done.
Okay.
Hello, Sith and Karina and Stephen. Hope you're... Oh, and Tom Flatman and Dude Cal. Yeah.
Do we wish to discuss impeachment?
Yes. So, when can we finally get rid of your president, man?
I don't know. It really depends, and things haven't been going great for said president.
Okay, so what's happened?
So, Rudy Giuliani is Trump's lawyer, and according to the Democrats, all the information that they've been getting from the Ukraine has been then funneled through Giuliani, and so you'll notice that if you ever read anything about the information that's being got and reported on, it's from Giuliani that the Ukraine, has, does believe that the Bidens might have done something illegal. It's not from the Ukraine that the Bidens may have done something illegal. They have been dancing around this whole thing. But unfortunately, Rudy Giuliani and contacts of him have been recently arrested on campaign's finance violations.
Okay.
Now, where have I heard that before?
Sounds oddly familiar.
Yeah, it does, doesn't it? And the weirdest thing that I have, as I've been paying attention, have basically been that if there is a crime that you wish to get somebody for, but you cannot, for whatever reason, find proof of that, some kind of financial institution can find them guilty of some kind of crime. Like, for example, they wanted to get Al Capone for, all of his mob dealings and the bootleg booze and all that shit. They couldn't. So they got him on tax evasion.
Yeah.
Okay, that sounds pretty much like an abuse of the system. Now it's really kind of funny when you look at it, because my dad used to tell me, he goes, there's something to be noted when your entire government can be defined and outlined in 3 to 4 pages, of the Constitution, right? And
Yes.
your tax code has 9,000 pages. You know something went wrong in there.
Does feel a bit off, doesn't it?
It does. But basically, right now, they are moving forward with impeachment proceedings against Trump. They have since arrested several associates of Giuliani's. Trump has defunded Giuliani as a way to kind of distance himself, I think.
Well, that hasn't worked, because didn't he lose a court case to have his tax returns subpoenaed or something?
Yeah.
People are already looking into his money.
Yeah, but it's not been...
Oh, it's not connected to Giuliani at all, no?
Well, I mean, there might be, but I think the bigger thing they'll find from his tax returns is that he's not as rich as he likes to say he is.
I believe he said on a few occasions that his wealth fluctuates with the markets.
Yeah, so I don't think that I think a lot of his assets um are in stocks and whatnot. So I don't think they'll show that he's got, the millions that he claims to be. So I think it's just going to end up being a smear on him, honestly.
Mm.
Just because, he's this great businessman, but he's, at least to the layman, they're going to look at his account and go, well, not really. Um,
An excuse to
so I
attack
think
him,
that's
I
probably the
guess.
only thing to find from his tax returns, honestly.
Okay, so I want to read on this. Okay, so what's happened with Okay, so continuing the timeline, what happened next?
Okay, so a Ukrainian former ambassador has come out and said that information regarding the phone call that Trump had released the transcript of, there were people who had knowledge of it, and they have argued that there may have been a let's call it a quid pro quo, since that's everyone's word right now.
Yeah.
Before then, there was a $400 billion stipend allotted by Congress to go to the Ukraine. Before the phone call, that money was put on hold by Donald Trump. After the phone call, the money went through. Some people have been led to speculate that that means that he was trying to basically strong arm the Ukrainians to say, do this for me or you're not going to see a penny of this money.
Okay.
That's what the ambassador is arguing. And she has been requested to testify before, I believe it's the House Intelligence Committee.
Oh, hang on, isn't that
So-
Nadler? Isn't that Nadler?
Yeah, it's Nadler.
Jeez, Nadler's a. Oh, he's so bent. He's so biased. I mean, that kind of bent. Not.
Oh, Nadler's a cunt.
He's a massive cunt.
So that's all happening on the Ukraine front. Now you have the Turkey thing, as I see you've put up.
Oh, I had to put that tweet on the screen. I saw it earlier. I just quickly went and grabbed it.
Hold on, what does it say? Turkey has started using militias.
A militia composed of former ISIS and Al Qaeda members in North Syria. They have liberated one ISIS prison camp and assassinated the Kurdish guards. Impeach this motherfucker. This tweet, I'm putting this on the screen because this people have been assuming that he's referring to that because he's obviously said it. It came across to some that he was referring to Trump because in other tweets he was also referencing the US troop numbers that are being pulled out. So people thought that this was in relation to that. Others indicating it might be in reference to Erdogan. Let's just call him.
Erdogan?
Let's call him Erdogan.
Erdogan.
Yeah, I know. I'm just gonna call him Erdogan
Okay,
because I'm a twat.
I understand.
But I'm putting it on the screen because it's so faint.
Well, I think it's interesting because the whole issue with Turkey is another quid pro quo that they're arguing that Trump is basically he's in the palm of Erdogan because of Trump's towers in Istanbul. After there was some issue that they had at one point, and Erdogan had fired one of the people who was responsible for the development of that tower.
Right.
And it led some people to speculate then that, oh, well, this is a show of power by Erdogan to say that I can do whatever I want to your tower here in Istanbul.
Mm-hmm.
Now, it's really weird because basically all this information that I'm regurgitating at you, I listened to MSNBC radio while I was driving to work back and forth.
Yeah.
And this is the arguments that they had tried to come up with. That, oh, well, Trump's money is in danger. Yeah, I think he's got a couple more important things to worry about.
Just a few.
And here's a weird one. So, Turkey is a NATO ally.
Mm-hmm.
The Kurds are a U.S. ally
Mm-hmm.
while we were in Syria getting rid of ISIS. Okay. we are going to move from, northern Syria. We're going to take troops out, and Turkey is going to come in. And apparently that's a bad thing. But I don't see other militaries mobilizing. I see the
No.
U.S. in there.
Mm-hmm.
I don't see Greece, moving in. I don't see UK. I don't see France.
No.
I don't see anybody else in NATO making a big deal about this except to kind of wag their finger and say, "Well, shame on you." So I really have a hard time believing people care this much.
I think they care about as much as they did about the rainforest. They've stopped talking about that, haven't they?
Well, that's because they got proven that was
Yeah, I know.
intentional.
Yeah. It's still, yeah.
But it's really bizarre. A conveniently aligned faction is not an ally. I agree, and the Kurds were a conveniently aligned faction. Don't get me wrong. There are individuals amongst that group who are, honorable and deserving very well of, uh, the best life that they could live. Everyone, with some very few exceptions, should have, the best life afforded to them. However, we can't sit by and say, all right, we're going to stay here indefinitely in northern Syria just to make sure Turkey doesn't come down and, you know, fight the people who they have nationally deemed as terrorists,
Yeah.
which are the Kurds. Like, there's a certain point where this is going to keep on spiraling. So, based on all of my knowledge of the conflicts in the Middle East,
Those conflicts are never going to end.
no, unless we fuck right off.
Yep. I think they should be
So,
left to it. Just, you guys fight it
well,
out. Leave us alone, okay?
I mean, all the people that we ever moved in on, for the most part, when actually we invaded a country, it was a dictator, authoritarian dictator, a Western dictator, but a dictator. Whether it was Hussein, whether it was, I believe his name was Mubarak in Egypt, when he wasn't ousted by us, but he was
Mubarak.
ousted by his own people.
Mubarak.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
The guy before him was a very Western Egyptian leader. I forget his name. He was the one that went on tape and said, "Can you imagine what it would be like if I told women they had to wear burqas all the time?" And everyone laughed
Oh,
because
dear.
back then Egypt was much more Western.
Egypt, even Turkey, used to be fantastic for culture.
Oh,
Now,
absolutely.
and I'm not going to trash your faith here, but seriously, you cannot tell me that is culture when you've absolutely erased the one that existed before.
Well, that's the kind of the sad part. They were on a path to become, westernized nations until we then moved in, got rid of a dictator, and basically gave it to the people, who then turned it into extremism.
Mm-hmm.
And so then those areas that were overwhelmed with extremism, created terrorists, which we then moved in to eradicate. Which means that we'll constantly be doing this over and over again until we just fuck right off.
Agreed. I think we should leave. Anyone involved, just walk away. Let them, just leave them alone. Let them do their own. Although I do think if you want to be a part of the international stage, so most of these countries want to be involved in the UN. Okay, get good.
Yeah, that is important.
If you want to be
But
accepted on the
even
international
Saudi
stage.
Arabia,
Sorry, go on.
even Saudi Arabia, as fucking backwards as they are, they're Western. A lot of their infrastructure and their rules are Western.
Well, they've been. I know that no one likes him anymore, but he was being Prince Salman. He was being touted as this very liberal guy because he'd started giving women more rights. Slowly, he was doing this.
I have a feeling that he's being puppeted.
I think he is too. But
I feel like he's being
let's,
puppeted by the fucking generals.
let's just say for a second that he isn't for a moment. We say it charitably,
Yeah.
although we know he is. There were ideas that he was at the time, and it was shown he was actually starting to push some things that were, giving women freedom. But yeah, no, you're still really far behind. I mean, this is actually embarrassing at this point, and I don't think you'll ever catch up.
Mm-hmm.
Because to do so would mean
Like,
to
I don't even know what the
acknowledge.
state of Iraq is anymore.
Oh, it's a mess. I would say that for any country that doesn't recognize any human rights at all, and especially treats their citizens as not subjects but as objects, you are a long way off from being considered worthy of being given any level of respect on the international stage. And the only thing that makes you credible to other people is the fact that the $1 Million Man was right, that everybody has a price. And if you have something that we want, it's worth something to us, and therefore we'll treat you with respect. And I disagree with that. I don't agree with that at all. I don't think that's right, because I prefer the integrity of exactly like China. Thank you. Someone got the point.
Yeah.
It's an obvious point, but it's sad that these countries are treated so nicely when they are anything but. It's just pathetic.
And then you have good countries that are being then abused because of how they'll basically bend over backwards for people who don't care about them. Like, look at Sweden. Like, I feel bad for Sweden. That Sweden is, like, I believe it's what, the grenade death capital of the world?
Sweden is one of the loveliest countries on the planet, but they're too lovely. It's borderline naivety. No offense to Sith, who is Swedish, Bork, but there's a level of naivety within its politics as well. And I do pay attention. I pay a lot of attention to other countries' politics. I've watched it. I might make a video on it actually. The level of naivety in certain politics. I get it'd be hypocritical if I acknowledge their optimism, but don't treat it as optimism when I treat my own countries when it comes to no deal as optimism. I would say perhaps I am brainwashed in that respect, because I do believe we would do better without the EU, but I'm not. I have to dissect it properly. I have to dissect it properly.
What's his face? I believe it was actually the Ukrainian president who, when he took power, he believed in a nationalistic Ukraine, to believe in the rights of his own citizens first, and then he'll deal with everyone else.
I actually totally agree with that mentality. If you don't put your country first, then what are you even doing there?
What are you fighting for?
Well, exactly. And that's why I take issue with it's leaders like, well, people who want to lead even as well. So you have Merkel, who has led, but she's been proven to have put the needs of everyone else above her own people. That has been proven with homes being taken from her citizens. And in this country we have a globalist who will do anything for everyone and then claim he'll help everyone here, but he can't. The very policies he has, he couldn't enact. So he would prioritise, because, bell hooks, and he'd help those outside the country first. It's all
and I think a lot of people
are
starting to feel that sentiment and start to see what people like Boris, what people like Trump, and what people like the Ukrainian president, I can't pronounce his last name, nor will I try, what they're trying to do.
Yeah. Do you think
like
there is a name for that type of politics?
Nationalism, populism.
Populism. Yeah. I think when people hear the word nationalism, they consider it to be a dirty word. I think it's anything but. I think it is respect. In fact, it should be what the government's job is for the nation. It really should be. So I don't understand.
I was talking with somebody on Twitter. I was getting into a back and forth with them quite often. and they asked me if I agreed with 'cause we were talking about taxes, and I was like, yeah, I believe in a reduced government. I don't believe in a removed government. I believe in a reduced government.
Mm-hmm.
And they said, isn't reduced government a populist rallying cry in the United States? And I was like, well, I feel like you're kind of missing the point here. Populist in the sense where there are more people who don't want to pay taxes than pay more taxes. Yeah, like there are people who want to pay less taxes. Yes, I guess that you would call that populist. But he almost said it with a kind of like a disgust in the tone, right? Like, oh, it's populist. Well, whatever. What else is supposed to be?
Populism is on the rise in Europe. Many of them being still in favour of staying in the EU, but they're still populists. And I think that's fine. It's just going to be very interesting to hear them when they try and get their voices heard and they're outnumbered.
Well, that's the biggest problem because, and this is where I really like advocate for the system that we have for voting. The reason why the Electoral College works is not because we don't treasure the voices of all of the citizens all the time or anything like that, but a direct democracy would find that only the places where most people gather would get any kind of funding or any kind of attention. The reason why places like New York and California go blue all the time is because their mass populations are centered in one particular area, and they're very wealthy areas, and so a lot of people end up flocking there. Now, a lot of people also believe in the democratic policy. That's fine when it's actually like a true Democrat, not a progressive. But what we end up seeing then is that all of an area will control that entire, you know, that entire state's votes essentially. So if you have
Mm-hmm.
all those blue areas branching off into all those other districts, you're gonna turn the whole state blue. Now imagine if all of those people who make up a majority of a voter base then say, okay, well, the majority of everyone want this. Well, what happens to people in Kansas? What happens to people in Nevada? What happens to people in Montana? What about these areas where it's not a whole lot of people? What happens then? What happens to their funding? What happens to their benefits? What happens to people and the lives they live there? Are you, the people in California, going to vote to make sure that the farmers in the southern region get fresh, clean water to irrigate their crops, or are you going to say that we have a water shortage here and we need to fucking water our lawns?
Mm-hmm.
Well, the vast majority of people who live in a certain district might say, well, we want to make sure our place looks good so our property value stays up. So, you get into this very, very like problematic issue with what happens when you have a direct democracy.
Mm-hmm. I do
And Jeff
think.
Jones is right, though. Your two-party system is toxic. It is. That's why we've gone through over the years so many changes of those parties. Those two parties haven't always been Republican and Democrat. They've changed over the years.
The idea of the electoral college, I would support within the EU. I think they do need it. I think they, to an extent, have a number of EU parliamentary seats allocated by country depending on certain factors. I believe because we have quite a lot of seats. Something else of interest. What was it? Oh, it was right on the tip of my bloody tongue. I've had it in my head the whole time. It wasn't just that. It was something else. It was really important as well, and it's going to bug me to no end because I was literally about to say it and I just forgot it. That's selective. Electoral college in the EU.
You were saying that you do have people who
Oh no
are...
no! It was something else. It was something
Okay.
else. So, I'm all for a one major, like you've got your federal government. They set certain rules and whatever. Give states their budgets, I assume, or whatever.
Kind of, sort of.
Yeah, kind of, sort of. I don't mind that kind of sort of existing for the EU if they do end up going down that path, on the condition that whoever runs those respective member states has the autonomy to do essentially whatever the feck they want.
Well, that's honestly what I thought the EU was originally,
Ah,
until I, was more educated and I found out that no, actually, there are laws set by the EU that prevents these countries from basically governing themselves. What did you do?
time gem out.
Oh, okay. Um, but oh, I see now.
Yeah.
Um, but like, so that's why when I hear people like, oh, we need to abolish the electoral college because Hillary Clinton actually won the popular vote. Yeah, true. But a whole lot of people don't vote in certain areas because if it's red, right, and they believe in red, they don't have to vote because that place isn't going to change from red
Yeah.
or blue, rather.
Well, it's not.
Like,
It's not just that. It's obviously they don't campaign in those states. Obviously the swing states are where the action is, but the dead cert cities, they just dominate. That's when you know you're not. And okay, I'd be a hypocrite for not acknowledging it, but I have to acknowledge it. I acknowledge the popular vote in two different contexts. One being a referendum, which is not the same as a election. The other being in an election that is so big that it has to be divvied up by also an electoral college to show you represent an entire nation. And even if you'd done that, by the way, if the electoral college had existed in the UK, 2/3 of all council district constituencies voted Leave. Even with an electoral college, Leave would have won. So don't try and throw that back at me, please. You're going to lose. You embarrass
I
yourself.
mean, let's put it this way, right? The population of LA is 4 million people as of 2017.
Is it?
The population of Idaho is 1.75 million as of 2018.
That's not many people.
No, it's not, but it's a major area for our farming. So, could you imagine what would happen if, let's say, because Washington and Oregon are next to it, if Washington and Oregon got to decide what happened to Idaho?
Ooh.
Well, that wouldn't be very fair to Idaho. What's the point of being another state if you're just going to tell me what I can or cannot do?
Mm-hmm.
There's no point. There's absolutely no point. And to point out another one, Kansas only had 2.9 million. So LA still beats that. Just LA.
Yeah. It does become a bit absurd, doesn't it?
Now, are you count legal citizens? I am only counting legal citizens because that's the only way a census is taken.
You can't do a census on non-legal citizens, can you? Because you won't be able to do it accurately.
Well, Furrykin makes a very good point. But London voted Remain, so that's all that matters. That's essentially what would happen if only LA was counted. Or only New York.
No, that's actually really... Scotland also did, and so did Northern Ireland. So we'll just ignore Scotland and Northern Ireland because no one cares. And focus on London, the country of London. And I know that they're being sarcastic. I do understand that, by the way. I tend to not care about London too much.
And also, Beechin, I believe in a healthy balance of both states' rights and federalism, because I believe the federal government needs to have laws for the governance of the country. And then I believe that states' rights do end up having to deal with how I'm going to deal with the citizens within my own state. It's the same idea as a country, just smaller.
Yeah, it is, and I'm okay with that.
I mean, you take it one step further, and then you go, okay, what about a city? Well, a city has a mayor. Okay, does the mayor get a choice? Or does the governor of that state get a choice? Or does that president of the country get a choice? The answer is all of them.
It essentially just keeps going down like dominoes.
Yeah, until you get to a mayor, usually.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why we also have senates for our states and Congress for our states.
I knew about that because when When I first heard about Obama, the first thing I did was look him up and realized he was a state senator for a little bit, and then
Yeah.
then a proper senator for half a term. And I was like,
Well, it's like I don't know if you heard the news of different places in the United States, like
hmm,
let's say Washington State legalizes marijuana.
yeah,
Okay, well, why didn't the other ones, right?
yeah,
Well, because Washington decided that was something they wanted.
yeah.
The state reps voted for that.
I should
Okay,
now point out, people are going to ask why did I even bother looking that up? It was because at the time I was planning to move to America to live there. So
huzzah!
I wanted to understand your political system, and I did not know that each state had its own Congress and Senate. I then knew
Yeah,
this once I looked up Obama and noticed he'd also been a state senator.
and arguably the biggest problem with voting we have in this country is because people don't vote for their state representatives. You know, people will always come out for presidential elections most of the time. But if you look at the voting numbers between presidential election years and any other year, honestly, because we have elections every year for different shit.
Yeah,
Yeah, you'll find that a vast like amount of people just decided not to show up because they don't think it's important, which is weird because it's actually more important.
yeah. A lot of people are very. I know I've used the word a lot recently, but jaded. A lot of Americans I've spoken to don't vote because they believe their vote doesn't matter, and that's on any level. People can say that, and they might have a point. It doesn't mean you don't vote, though. If you don't want to vote, just say I don't want to vote. 'Cause
Right, but then don't be upset when people do vote and it doesn't go your way. Like
exactly.
if I didn't vote in my state elections and they passed like a bill that let's say just limited firearm access to you know law-abiding citizens,
Hmm.
I'd be upset because I didn't vote for that
Right.
because I would have believed that we should have kept those rights. That's one of the things. Yeah, Leona says vote or don't complain.
Yeah, I agree.
You can vote and complain. It's fair.
I think if you don't vote and you complain, be prepared when people point out that you didn't vote. Because people are going to notice this. It's not hard to tell when someone hasn't voted and still complains. I'll be
And
honest.
actually, Star Page makes a very interesting point that I'm kind of extracting from that statement. Says, and that's due to not enough coverage. Most of the population only does shit to post to the Twitter or I'm sorry, the Twatter or the Facebook. Um, and honestly,
Hang on a sec.
eh.
Timeout Gem donated £5. Okay. Bye, Gem. Carry on.
Saki says voting is an act of stupidity. You're wasting your time and encouraging the illusion of choice. Maybe in your country, but not mine. Because even though I voted for, the guy who didn't win this last Senate election, the state Senate election, I still voted, and all the other people I voted for won. So
You voted for Erdogan.
yeah, I didn't get. No, I voted for
sorry.
Katie Haring.
Wrong. It was Worf. My mistake. Sorry.
Yeah, Erdogan. But no, maybe it works in America, but it sure doesn't over here. Yeah, I know. Maybe y'all need a constitution.
There was talk about that, and it's been regularly over the last 4 weeks. A discussion about a UK constitution has been, spoken of, and it's getting more voice, more gravitas, more emphasis, and I am totally in favour of this. I'm sick
Fucking
of
Japan has a fucking constitution. Y'all can come up with one too.
They also have an emperor.
Yeah, but you have a queen. It's fine.
No, but I want an emperor. I want to give him some golden shiny armor and some golden shiny warriors.
Why not an empress?
She can have some.
Elite-
Then she can
elevate
have
the queen to empress.
Then she can have some gold shiny armor. I want to see Prince Philip riding into battle, shouting about the darkies.
What was it? Sargon said that there was a comment who says, "There's an empire I want to reform," and I was like, "The British one, right?"
I'm okay with this. Nah, not. It
I
requires a
feel
lot.
like
It's
a
a
lot
lot
of
of
people aren't, but
It's a
that's
lot.
fair.
It's a lot of effort. To be fair, I wouldn't actually be involved in that. I'd be
Also, like that would suck a lot of resources from you guys. So
yeah, and we're busy, moaning.
yeah, and Bracken Moore makes a good point. Could you imagine how watered down an area they'd make a constitution? Yeah, but everyone would see that,
Yeah,
and
that's why if a constitution actually did happen in the UK, it would not be something that could be done in a manner that many would want it to be done, like that. It would take. It would take, I think, up to a decade to do it, because it's something that's so important to the very fabric of of what we want to be as a united kingdom. And I don't know if it can be done quickly.
I don't know if it can be done quickly, but it needs to be done
Right.
inevitably. Like it needs to be done
Yeah, it does. I absolutely
because
agree with you. Because we have claims of having one in pieces, fragments like Voldemort's Horcruxes. Okay, well, if you don't want to do me a favour, can you please go to where Voldemort's Horcruxes are currently residing and go and bring them to us, please? Because, honestly... And others saying, oh, the unwritten constitution. Well, if it's not written, it's not a constitution, is it? It's just an idea in the back of someone's head. Idiots. Oh, I've just realised, by the way, we've been going for an hour and a half.
Oh, that's all right. I hope everyone has learned something about voting. Please
Yes,
vote.
and
For the love of God.
and Blizzard, by all means, go deactivate your accounts now. I don't know. I don't
If
play.
you feel like it,
Yeah,
or
I'm not.
as the guy wrote, just shout the N word in every game you
Yeah,
play.
yeah, sure, do that. I don't actually own. I have an old Blizzard account somewhere, Battle.net account somewhere. I don't know the details, so I'd have to create a new one if I ever did. I don't think I will though. I mean, I don't really need to right now. I've got other things to do, like playing a fishing game. I actually have more articles, by the way, but I think I'll just save them for videos for your channel and mine. So watch this space. I'll have those up soon. There is a new video,
Yay.
a new collaboration I just did with Undoomed. He's just released it on his channel. So if you are at all subscribed to Undoomed, go there and give it a watch. If not, go here instead. I'm going to give you a link in the chat. And go give him as much shit as you can manage. Is there anything you'd like to shill?
No, I'm good. Actually, wait. There's something that I'm working with a gentleman who I had done a stream with a while back. He contacted me about possibly doing another stream. It's gonna be me and the Bad Tempered Badger, and another gent.
Oh, another one of those.
Yeah, they wanted to do another stream. So that's gonna be coming up eventually.
Okay.
I'll post about it on my community tab.
Yeah, please do. I'll have videos out tomorrow, and Trups will have a new video up at some point within the next 3 days, provided I get it to him in time, which I should. Yes. Stop timing you out. Okay. I won't time you out then. I'll resist the urge, because I'm a good guy. 1 second. Say goodnight, Trups.
Good night, Trups.
Good night, Trups. Bye, Gem.